गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। We are in Panchadashi, chapter 3, verse number 33, and here we are seeing how, what is this Atma, and then with regards to this Atma, the scriptural confirmation as, where was it? How this Atma is Brahma Sarupa, and how this Atma can be deduced was told, and here therefore in 32nd verse, this is not Atma. In this way the Upanishad, by the method of negating the non-self and having negated all that which can be negated, indicates the one which is left behind unnegated as Atma. Atma is, even though it is the most real thing, but by the Anatma Vastu, knowing namely the mind, intellect, the senses, it cannot be known. So at this level of mind and intellect, we negate everything that we know, and when there is nothing more to be negated, what is left behind is the Atma Tattva. Now in 33rd verse, idam rupam tu yadyavat idam rupam tu yadyavat tatyuktam shakyate khilam tatyuktam, it's tatyaktum shakyate khilam tatyaktum shakyate khilam ashakyo yanidam rupam ashakyo yanidam rupam rupaha sa atma badhavarjitaha sa atma badhavarjitaha. I made too many mistakes. Idam rupam tu yadyavat tatyaktum shakyate khilam ashakyo yanidam rupaha sa atma badhavarjitaha. All that can be objectified, such as body, mind, etc., but also the three states, waking, dream and deep sleep, can also be negated. However, that which is not known objectively, that is the subjective self, cannot be negated. Therefore, that which cannot be negated is the Atma. And this way we come to the conclusion about the self that is, and this self is the subjective self, it is not outside. So what do you negate? You negate the space, air, fire, water, earth, you negate the body, you negate the breath, you negate the mind, you negate the concepts, you negate the, forget concept, negate the thoughts. You negate, you even give up the manifestation or the non-manifestation, manifestation of thought or non-manifestation of thought. You even give up the waker, dreamer and deep sleeper with the waking world, dream world and deep sleep world. So everything is given up. And then who, but you, after you have given up everything, you still are that one who is left behind is the self, because this fellow cannot be rejected, this being cannot be rejected.
Swamiji, I've got a query. Is this one and Sloka 21 says is the same? That's essentially very important. From objective knowledge, when the object of knowledge is rejected, whatever...
Let me come.
Yeah,
21.
Yeah.
Yes, same thing. When the object of knowledge is rejected, whatever pure knowledge is left, that is Brahman. This is called the vision of Brahman. But yes, Brahman, it's Atma itself is Brahman. There we were talking about Brahman, now we are talking about Atma. Atma is Brahman expressing through specific conditioning. Brahman has no conditioning.
Atma is conditioned.
Atma seems to be having conditioning, isn't it? So Brahman recognized at individual level is Atma. So when individuality recognizes itself as pure consciousness, it is Atma. Right? Because he gave, this individual gave up this body, this breath, this mind, this thought, this waker, this dreamer, isn't it? He did not give up all the wakers and all the dreamers. Only this waker and this dreamer was given up, and deep sleeper was given up. So after giving up this individual conditionings, what is left is Atma. And our understanding should be from beginning that this Atma itself is the Paramatma. This Atma itself is the Brahman, because the both are of the same nature. Both are Satchidanand Swarup.
Okay. Object of knowledge, is it the object which is rejected, or is the knowledge which is rejected?
Both.
Or both? Okay.
Depends first with regards to the outside world.
Yeah.
What is the object right now? What is your object of experience right now? Tell.
Anything form?
Tell what. Tell. Give me a concrete example. Don't just say form.
Okay, house and other things.
So right now, what are you seeing? Are you seeing the house?
I'm seeing you.
You're seeing me. House you will see only when you go out.
Okay.
You are seeing a room.
Yeah.
You are not seeing the house. You are imagining the house
Yeah. Okay.
right now.
Okay.
So you cannot say that you are seeing the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you are seeing me. Okay, that is correct.
Okay.
So I am the object of knowledge. I am the object of knowledge,
Yeah.
and the knowledge about me is taking place in your eyes, or will take it as mind.
Mind. Yeah.
So the thought called Swami,
Yeah.
the thought called this form is getting created on your eyes,
Right.
but the knowledge of it is taking place in your mind, isn't it?
Yeah. Right.
Okay,
So object is outside and the knowledge is.
good, got it.
Right. Okay.
Now close your eyes,
Yeah.
think of Swami. So can you think of Swami?
Yeah. Okay.
Can you know, are you knowing that you are thinking about Swami?
Yeah.
So that thought
Yeah.
becomes the object of knowledge,
That thought will become the
object of knowledge.
Oh, right. Okay.
And the one who is knowing that that thought is taking place in the mind,
Yeah.
you know, isn't it?
That's right.
That is the Atma.
Okay. Okay.
That is the Atma.
So when we close the eyes and think, the thought is that it is an object. It's an object.
Yes. So most of the time our attention is only on the world.
Okay.
When we sit in meditation, that time our attention goes to the breath maybe. So the breath, first the body becomes the object of knowledge when we drop the world.
Yeah. That's right.
Then the breath becomes the object of knowledge.
Okay.
Then the emotions become the likes and dislikes can become the object of
It
knowledge.
is in the thought level.
So of course, everything is thought level.
Okay.
But even though everything is at thought level, your attention is not on the thought.
Yeah. Right.
Your attention is on the body.
That's right. Yeah.
So when your attention is on the body
Yeah.
and obsession is with this limitation,
Right.
then this becomes the object of knowledge. See? Getting it?
Okay.
So when your attention goes to the thoughts, then those thoughts will become your object of knowledge. Isn't it? So if you say here that house is the object of knowledge, no, physical house is not the object of knowledge. The thought of the house is your object of knowledge.
Okay. Right. Right. Okay.
But all this objective knowledge, knowledge is taking place inside your mind
Right.
by way of thoughts, isn't it?
Right, that's right. Yeah.
And you know that thoughts are coming and going. Do you know it, or you?
Yeah, yeah.
That's why you can remember
Yeah.
from the past,
Right.
isn't it? So who is that fellow in whose presence this knowledge is taking place? Because the previous word, just now what we just discussed,
Yeah.
if I ask you, do you remember? You will say yes.
Yes.
So who is that fellow who was watching that these thoughts are taking place? Because the one who knows the thoughts are taking place has to be separate from the thoughts, isn't it? That is the rule. The knower of the object and the object of knowledge, and the object have to be separate. So me the knower and me the body, the knower has to be separate from the body. The knower has to be separate from the breath. The knower has to be separate from the thoughts. Only then you can know something, isn't it?
That's right.
Now this is the enquiry. Who is the knower? Either we can keep asking that question, who am I, who am I, who am I? Or we can be aware that all these thoughts are taking place in my presence. I am. That's it. Why do I have to ask a question, who am I? Don't you know who you are? Just drop the body, breath, and the thoughts, and you catch it. In 24 hours, there are zillions of opportunities for you to be who you are. For you to be, not just for you, for all of us. Take that opportunity. We don't have to keep banging at it. If that is what is coming out, you follow that way. See? Okay? So, ashakya hi anidam rupam, that which cannot become the object of knowledge is Atma. So, this one who knows the world, the body, the breath, the thoughts, is the Atma. And what happens? Our obsession, we have been so used from previous lifetimes and this lifetime to know everything objectively. It's easy for me to know this is a camera because it's separate to me. Because you are separate to me. This house, it is separate to me. This laptop, it's separate to me. So we have got, that default setting is there to know everything objectively. Because we have programmed ourselves to only look outwards. But when that takes the U-turn, which is, we do it in meditation or japa or sleep, but we do it consciously, then immediately, and you don't even have to make a U-turn. That U-turn is of the mind, isn't it? So you watch that mind is making a U-turn. Even that U-turn is being watched by you. Otherwise, how can you say that mind made a U-turn? See? So recognize this about yourself. That you are that continuous principle. You are that continuous being in whose presence every thought, every breath, every action, everything in this world is coming and going. Again and again coming to this point is called meditation, is called spirituality. Bada Varjita sa Atma, in the subject-object relationship, objects can be rejected, but the subject can never be rejected. And that which cannot be rejected is the Atma. Another word for Atma is the witness, the observer, isn't it? Who is witness? The one who is unaffected by coming and going, isn't it? That is the witness, Saksha. A question can be asked, in deep sleep there is still one thing that is not rejected, namely ignorance. Ignorance is absence of knowledge. Absence means that which is not. Even that absence is illumined by the presence of the Atma Tattva. So in deep, here example, this came before also some other place. In deep sleep, there are no thoughts, right? That's why you're sleeping soundly. Because if thoughts are there in deep sleep, then it will not be called deep sleep, it will be called dream. So in deep sleep there are no thoughts. Then how did knowledge take place about deep sleep?
After waking.
So there must be someone who was observing, witnessing that the mind has become zero, isn't it? Then that same fellow observes in the dream that this mind has become very agitated, become rajasic. The same observer observes the same mind in the waking state that it has become active. Compared to dream state, waking state is very less active. Very less. That's why this is the sattvic state. Dream is the rajasic state. Tamas, deep sleep is the tamasic state. So who is observing all these three? Do you know that yesterday you were a waker and dreamer and deep sleeper? Yes. Then who was it? It cannot be the waker, because waker cannot enter the dream. Waker cannot go into the deep sleep. And so also the other two cases, they cannot come and go in the other states. Then who was it? Was it someone other than you? Cannot be, because it is your experience. You say, I know that the three states came and went. I had the dream, I saw the dream, I went into deep sleep, I spent the day doing so many different things in the waking state. So who is this fellow? Catch this fellow. It cannot be caught through the mind. Understand this. It cannot be caught through the mind. Thinking cannot reach it. Imagining cannot reach it. But you are that. Accept it. Don't search it outside. The one who the mind is searching outside. This is what the most common mistake everyone is making in the world, because of which so much problem is there. The journey is of the mind. The meditation is for the mind. The studies is for the mind. The ignorance is for the mind. The wisdom is for the mind. Nothing, it has got nothing to do with who you essentially are. So if this is the whole journey, the waking, deep sleep is of the mind, waker, dreamer, deep sleep, also the mind. Don't get involved, let it go on, keep watching. Let the mind do whatever it wants. Slowly, it will slow down. So till now, till this verse, we saw that this Brahman is Sat Swarup. So there are the three Lakshanas, Sat, Chit and Anand. So till here we have seen the Sat aspect of the Brahman and inquired into it. Now we get into the second Lakshanam, which is the Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Okay, Sat, Chit, Anand, not Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So Jnanam is dealt with. Siddham Brahmani Satyatvam. Siddham Brahmani Satyatvam. Jnanatvam tu pureritam. Jnanatvam tu pureritam. Swayamevanubhutitvad. Swayamevanubhutitvad. Ityadi vachanai sfutam. Ityadi vachanai sfutam. In this way, the existence, which is the nature of Brahman, is proved to be also that of Atma. And the knowledge aspect of Brahman is already proved to be similar in Atma earlier in the verse 13 by the words like Swayam Evanubhuti Tvat. And so what is the word? Swayam Evanubhuti, the one who experiences itself without any objective knowledge, the one who is self-effulgent, the one who is self-knowing, the one who is experiencing itself all the time. That is this the jnanam. And therefore, regarding the second lakshanam of Brahman, namely jnanam, this has already been discussed, where it was said, Swayam eva anubhuti tvat, that Atma is of the nature of self-knowledge, self-awareness. Therefore, the jnana lakshanam of Brahman is also established in the Atma. Understand? There are two ways, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma or Sat Chit Anand Brahma. So this Anand itself is Anand, that which is limitless, that which is ever independent, itself is of the nature of bliss. Now the third lakshana of Brahman, Anandatva, is taken up. Navyaptetvadyeshato shato navyaptetvadyeshato navyaptetvadyeshato anto tetvadyeshato anto nityatvannapi kalatah नित्यत्वान्नापि कालतः न वस्तुतोऽपि सर्वात्म्याद् अनन्त्यं ब्रह्मणि त्रिधा आनन्त्यं ब्रह्मणि त्रिधा. Antyam Brahmani Tridha. There is total absence of three types of limitations in Brahman. One being omnipresent, no limit. That means the Brahman is omnipresent. Why? Because no limitation due to space. Then second, being ever present, no limitation due to time. And third, being all pervading, there is no limitation due to differences in object. So in this way, desha kala vastu. These are three limitations: time, space, and objectivity. So with regards to time, it is ananta. With regards to space, it is omnipresent. And with regards to vastu, it is all pervasive. And this way, these three limitations are unable to condition it. And this way, there is no limitation of objects. Brahman is present in all objects, being the material cause or upadana karana. So this Brahman itself is the material cause as well as the efficient cause. Being the material cause, there is nothing outside of Brahman. So even though we see the names and forms, but these names and forms are unable to condition the reality. And don't forget, when we use the word Brahman, when we use the word Ananta or Jnanam or Satya, we are not talking about a concept, we are talking about you. We are talking about the self. Don't start imagining Brahman is like that. We are talking about you. Make it subjective. Don't go into a Gaga world and start thinking, Acha, Brahman is like that, Satyam is like that, or Brahman. It's all perfect. And I am that. Yes, you are that. Always come back to the self.
Swami, Satchidananda, not Ananda, Ananta, isn't it?
Hey?
Satchidananda, Satchit Ananda. Anando, Ananta.
No. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma.
Okay, that's right.
And Satchid Ananda Brahma.
That is Ananda.
This is Ananda. So in this way, all these three types of limitations or paricheda are totally absent in the Brahman. Therefore, Brahman is Anantam. It is limitless. It is limitless. Nothing can condition it. Time cannot condition it, space cannot condition it, objects cannot condition it. You said it and we should believe, is it? Scripture said it and we should believe that it cannot. So they want logic now. What has been stated here on the basis of scriptural statement is now proved by logical explanation. Desha kalanya vastunam kalpitatvacha mayaya na deshadikruto tosti brahmanantyam sfutam tatah. The time, space and objects being the projections of Maya are imaginary. Hence, there cannot be a real limitation due to space, etc. Therefore, the Brahman is proved clearly to be devoid of any limitation. Remember one thing, when we are studying these scriptures, a lot of intellectuals get lost in the intellectualization of this whole thing. No, but it said that, or it said that, that is said there, that is said. Who cares, man? We are not here to compare or compete between different texts. That is all academics. Why are we here? To find out, to be who we are, to recognize, not even to find ourselves, to recognize who we essentially are. I am thinking that I am the body, I am thinking I am the husband or wife or brother or sister or teacher or student or seeker or whatever. No, all these are roles. Who are we essentially? That is what we have come to recognize when we come to the scriptures. So all these limitations that we are observing in our life, that I was born, and that I will die one day, that I am growing, now I am 50 years old, I am sitting here, space is conditioning me right now, time is conditioning me, another few minutes, 1 or 2 hours, I will go to sleep. Even if I don't want, the mind will feel sleepy, isn't it? So when you are at your best, when you are absolutely inspired, and every day those moments come, every now and then, at that time, instead of how well I can do a job, that let it happen. At that time, shift the attention to the self. Understand, the entire process is only an imagination. So this limitation of space, limitation of time, limitation of object are only imagined by the mind on itself. Actually, there is not possible. How have you ever seen eyes getting stuck to anything? They are seeing so many objects. Every moment I'm scanning the room, isn't it? First it's seeing him, then you, sometimes the camera, sometimes the book, sometimes my own hand. Are the eyes getting stuck to anything? Are they getting identified with anything? Are they? They are not. It is not possible. So also other senses. It is not possible for the senses to identify with anything, to be conditioned by anything. It is not possible. If you start recognizing this about you, go one step further. Breath is not conditioned by in-breath or out-breath. Isn't it? Continuously changing. No, I love in-breath. It will create a problem. I love out-breath. It will create a problem. So, the fluctuation is not able to influence. We don't say I am breathing in or breathing out. We only say we are breathing, isn't it? We are a breathing organism. We don't say we are an in-breathing organism or out-breathing organism. We are a breathing organism, and that principle called breath is unaffected by the in-breath or the out breath. So no attachment there also, no limitation there also, no conditioning also there. Now go to the mind. All this is not given here, I'm just expanding. Even at the mind level, if the mind was to get stuck with one thought, no, I love this thought, gone. Will you be able to think of anything else then? Can't possible, no? But then they talk about become single pointed, become focused. We don't. That's one way. There are n number of ways. Think in this way, that mind as such, because mind is that on which the thoughts are flowing. Is the mind getting attached to any thought? Is the river bed getting attached to any water? No. Isn't it? So mind is not getting attached to any thought. It's allowing thoughts to come and go, come and go, come and go, come and go. See how beautiful it is. And this is, we are not talking about any third person. We are talking about ourselves. This is our state at this moment also. Senses are not able to identify with anything. It is not possible. Breath is not able to identify with in or out. Mind is not able to identify with any thoughts. It is not possible. And yet it is happening, isn't it? So first, be factual first. First see the data that is available in your own experience. Before you begin, oh, I am unnecessarily, I am trapped by the thoughts of my mind and emotions of my mind and attachments. Where is the attachment? Show me first. Then you deal with it. Show me the attachment. It is not possible. So always try to let the mind think in such a way that it becomes free. So what we had just thought about, contemplated on, suddenly and this is your experience, nothing is attached to anything. Then why this obsession? That I have to realize. Why this obsession? I'm stuck. Why this obsession? I have got no purpose in life, I need to find a purpose of life. Why this obsession that we are depressed or excited? All these are different moods of the mind. Let them come and go. How does it matter? You recognize that without you this could not be possible. You recognize that mind is not attached to anything. Neither the waker, dreamer or deep sleeper, neither the waking world, dream world or deep sleep world. Within the waking world it is not attached to anything, not possible. In the dream world also it is not possible. Because the same rule applies everywhere. And if this goes deep and hits you, there will be masti. You will be just ha hoo. The student in Taittiriya Upanishads goes into ecstasy. So recognize this about yourself. Where are we? So time, space and object, desha, kala, vastu are, kala, desha and vastu in that sequence are only concepts of the mind. They are only imaginations of the mind. They are only ideas of the mind. They are only superimpositions of the mind. Whatever clicks for you. Space is not something solid that can be described. It is only a concept of the mind. Time is another concept, and object is that which is governed by space and time. No object can exist without the conditioning of space and time. That which is governed by concepts of the mind cannot be real. Why?
Because fleeting.
Always fluttering, fleeting. It's continuously changing. See? So everything is imaginary, everything is conceptual, everything is only an idea of the mind, a figment of imagination. Then so you mean to say my children and my husband and my wife and all the hard work that I have done from childhood till today, and I struggled, I educated myself and everything, all that is figment of imagination. If you have the courage, accept it. If you have the courage, if you call yourself a seeker, someday you will have to accept it. Someday we will have to. It has got no value. Give zero value to it. Yet we find ourselves in that position, isn't it? So do whatever is required to be done with a happy disposition and leave your attention. Remain in awareness. That's all. That in my presence all this is taking place. In my presence this talk is going on. In my presence book is being read. In my presence understanding is taking place. In my presence the thoughts are coming in my mind, ideas are coming in my mind, examples are coming in my mind. And you cannot deny it. Even as I am speaking it, it is becoming finer. See? So, thus, this space, time and objectivity, they cannot condition the Brahman. They cannot condition the self, which is of the nature of Brahman. They cannot. Just your example Swamiji has taken is just like east, west, north, south. They cannot condition space, isn't it? Space is their imaginations in space, isn't it? Just like an ornament cannot condition the gold. Gold is infinite compared to an ornament. A wave cannot condition an ocean. Similarly, time, space and objectivity cannot condition the self. Go one step further, the mind cannot condition the self. Because time, space and objectivity are concepts of mind itself, isn't it? So mind cannot condition the self. It is not possible. Now the next question will be, but this I feel that I am conditioned. I feel that I am conditioned. If you now where again your attention is not going to the self, your attention is going on the mind, your attention is going on your experience, so this question comes. If your attention goes to the self, this question will not come. You will just stay there. Now the student raises another peculiar doubt. There may not be limitation on Brahman on account of space, time and object, but there is the limitation of Jivatva and Ishwaratva. So how can Brahman be termed Ananta? So previous argument or discussion was to show that this Brahman is of the nature of limitlessness. It is the nature of Ananta. He says, but this Brahman alone is expressing as Jiva and Ishvara. How can it be Ananta? It cannot be. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Yad. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Yad. Brahma Tadvastu Tasya Tat. Brahma Tadvastu Tasya Tat. Ishwaratvam Cha Jivatvam. Ishwaratvam Cha Jivatvam. उपाधिद्वय कल्पितम् उपाधिद्वय कल्पितम्. Brahman is not cold air also, draft.
Yes, of course.
So much attention on where the breeze is coming, where the cold is coming, where the heater is coming. My God.
No, I feel pain.
Then sit here. Why you have to choose that place only? Yeah, sit here. So wonderful. It also has a flat back.
Okay.
The Brahman, which is existence, knowledge, and devoid of limitations, is the reality. Of this reality, the Brahman, the status of Ishvara and Jiva are two projected, imagined conditionings. So don't become too serious. So if someone says that Ishvara is also my creation, he is right. So understand, Jiva, Ishvara, Jeev, Jagat and Ishvara. These three are existing by supporting each other, just like these three legs. Therefore the world is Jiva, Ishvara, Jagat. If you take one out, the other two cannot exist. If you take Jiva out, Ishvara and Jagat cannot exist. Because Ishvara is, from our understanding, how do we explain? Ishvara is he who knows who he is, isn't it? But Jiva, Ishvara as Ishvara is being called by whom? Does Ishvara call himself Ishvara? No, Jiva is calling him Ishvara, isn't it?
Swamiji, is it same as knower, known and knowing?
Take it like that. All triads are same. All triads are same. But here we are talking not knower, known and knowing. We are talking from Jeev, Jagat, Ishwar. So here, if that one reality, yes, the students' doubt is that how can you call it limitless when there is Jiva and Ishvara? How can you call it limitless? That is his doubt. Because what did he say? There may not be limitation on Brahman on account of space, time and object, but there is the limitation of Jivatva and Ishwaratva. Because the student is trying to work out that who is he talking about? He is still objectifying. He is still finding questions, or you can take it in this way that he wants to be thorough, that no doubt is left behind when he sits in meditation. So he has understood that in time, space and object, teacher told him he has understood because he is listening. But now his mind pops up because he has studied the scriptures, pops up another doubt, what about Jiva and Ishvara? So teacher tells him, these are also two imaginations of the individual mind. These are the status of Ishvara and Jiva are two projected imagined conditionings. And in this way, the teacher explains that these two upadhis, that is limitations, are only imagined and proceeds to explain how. Shaktirastyaishwari kachet, Shaktirastyaishwari kachet, Sarvavastu niyamika, Sarvavastu niyamika, Anandamayam Anandamayam Gudha sarveshu vastushu, Gudha sarveshu vastushu. There is some inexplicable divine power. Kachit. Kachit is that unexplainable, some X factor. Some power is there, which is the controller of all things and beings. What is it? Why things are functioning all so much in order that every Wednesday you come here? Why don't you come on a Tuesday? Every morning you get up. Why don't you get up in the afternoon? Every night you go to sleep. Why don't you sleep in the morning? Why don't you hear through ears? Hear through eyes and see through ears? There is an order, isn't it? Everything is happening. At the right time the hunger comes, at the right time the pressure comes, the breath is going in and out. There is no, now because he is sitting next to me, I don't merge into him or he doesn't merge into me. Arey bhul gaya yaar, I forgot. No, we remain separate. We remain independent. Each object is maintaining its maryada. Maryada huh?
Perspective.
Boundary. Its parameters are defined. Each person's, each object's. So who's dictating all this? If you say time, space and object, but time, space and object are a product of the mind. So who is dictating these three? Who is dictating to the mind? So here it is told that there is some inexplicable divine power which is the controller of all the things and beings, and it is hidden in all the beings in the five sheaths, starting from the bliss sheath. So what is this divine power? It is Shakti, it is Maya, and uh, uh, and this Shakti or Maya, just like the Brahman is the material and the efficient cause of the whole world, isn't it? Similarly, this divine power is also pervading in and through the entire space, time, and objectivity. Everything it is pervading. It is controlling from inside. And when it is controlling from inside, it is called Ishvara. When it is controlled by outside, it is called Jiva. Simple. When it is controlling from inside, it is called Ishvara. When it is controlled from outside, when the control is from outside, it is called Jiva. So here, which controls all the things and beings in this world. Which things and beings? Anandamayam arabhya sarveshu vastushu gudha. Beginning from the Anandamaya Kosh, this Maya or divine power is inherent in the total world, which is under its control. See? If you see Devon Ke Dev Mahadev, yesterday's episode or today's episode, you will see how first mind was created and that mind was unruly. So how Purush and Prakriti asked the five elements to go and stabilize and cover this mind. And then slowly then it will, still it is not come under control. But first it needs to stabilize at the outside. Very beautiful, the concept of Adi. Adi means beginningless. But that which is beginningless, two things are beginningless. What? What are the two things which are beginningless? No. One is the self is beginningless or the reality is beginningless, the absolute is beginningless, and ignorance is also beginningless. But reality is endless, but ignorance ends. And that beginningless ignorance, till it is not, the moment you recognize the ignorance, it dies. And this ignorance is mentioned in the story as Adi. The name itself is beginningless. The connection between the philosophy and the Puranic stories, beginning from this Maya or divine power is inherent in the total world, which is under its control. How is this world under its control? Because this Maya itself became Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, isn't it? And from these three elements, the senses came, the antakaran came, the space, air, fire, water, air came, and all this admixture of everything are this world that we see, isn't it? This whole cosmos is a product of that expansion. But what is Maya? Here they are taking it as that Shakti. How does one know that there is such a Shakti power? How the presence of Maya Shakti is inferred is explained in Shloka 39. Vastu dharma niyam yeran Shaktya naiva yada tada Shaktya naiva yada tada Anyonya dharma sankaryad Sankaryad Viplavet jagat khalu. If the qualities of the different objects are not controlled by this power, then there will be mutual admixture of qualities of things, and the world will sink in a state of chaos indeed. Imagine if space forgot that its job is of accommodation. If the air started thinking, no, I think I am not, my job is not to make sound and feel, but I'll start burning and I feel like being wet. I feel like being water. Is it possible? Imagine if these things happen. But this is the surprise. In modern world, this is possible. Man starts feeling like a woman. Woman starts feeling like a man. It's possible, is it? Man thinks that he is a husband or a wife. Nothing like that. No object. But he is imagining and is on his journey. Is on his journey. So this admixture of the elements, emotions do not think that from today onwards I will become the intellect, I will be decisive. It is not possible. It's not possible. In-breath cannot decide that I will become the out-breath. The waker cannot decide I am going to dream today. It has got no entry in the dream world. So everyone, the dreamer is doing his job, the waker is doing his job. He is governed by certain set of rules. The body is doing its job. Each organ inside today, stomach is producing hydrochloric acid to digest the food. Tomorrow it says, I don't feel like. Is it possible? No. Let pancreas do something else. No, it has to do, each one is doing his own or her job. And in this way, every object in the world has its own quality, like the earth has smell, water being liquid has taste. These qualities, which are governed by certain precise principles, constitute the Vastu Dharma of each object. Had there been no power or Shakti exercising proper control over these objects, there would be total chaos resulting from a mixture, Sankarya, of the qualities of different things and beings. Therefore, it can be inferred that there is a power which is keeping nature running in an orderly cosmic manner. It is that power which is keeping the earth in its orbit. It is that power which is making the sun continuously shine. It is that power which is making sure that every day there is a sunrise and a sunset. See? Yes, that is a different matter, that sun doesn't rise and sun doesn't set. But every day we experience. The earth must be rotating. What is making the earth rotate only in a particular manner? Not in another. All that is because of that unspoken power, unspoken energy, unspoken Shakti. And in this way, but for everyone knows that the world would not have been an orderly manifestation. The laws of nature are so well defined and precisely manifested that one can trust nature more than anything else. So as you sow, so you reap is the rule in the nature. See? So if you trust nature, the aborigines trust nature, isn't it? Many cultures, we also trust nature. It's not that we are not. We also trust nature. What do they say? That if you think about something intensely and purely and single pointedly, the whole creation will try to manifest, make it happen for you. So, what is this universe? It is the whole universe, isn't it? It is that power. So, you're tapping into that power. And it is not other than you, it is within you as you. It is a manifestation of you alone. Not you as an individual, but you as the self. So recognize this. Then there is nothing impossible in this. That is why Mahatmas keep telling that there is nothing impossible in this creation. You can be who you want to be, or you can not be who you don't want to be. You can be a happy-go-lucky person, or you can be a depressive personality. You can be suicidal, you can be inspirational. Choice, you can make it or break it in your own life. So the more you go away from this energy, breakup will happen. The more you recognize this energy, how do you recognize this energy?
By intuition.
By being the witness. By being the witness. Yeah. Now another doubt is raised. If the Maya Shakti is other than consciousness, is it inert? Vichhayaveshatah Shaktihi Vichhayaveshatah Shaktihi Chetaneva Vibhati Sa Chetaneva Vibhati Sa Tat Shaktyupadhi Sanyogad Tat Shaktyupadhi Sanyogad Brahmaiveshwaratam Vrajet Brahmaiveshwaratam Vrajet. This power in association with the reflection of the consciousness appears as consciousness. Conditioned by this power, the Brahman alone has attained the status of Ishvara. Sa Shakti Chit Chaya Veshata Chetana Eva Vibhati. When the Chetana consciousness is functioning through the conditioning of Maya, this Maya Shakti starts manifesting as if it is consciousness. Who is this fellow we are talking about? The I. The pure I.
Is that the sattvic mind?
Don't go into mind anymore. Yeah, okay, you can say it that way. You can catch it there in the sattvic mind. But now we are not going into sattva rajas tamas. We are looking at the whole principle of it. What is the principle? That when this consciousness reflects in the mind, on account of this, what does it say? Where are we? This Maya Shakti starts manifesting as if it is consciousness. So this reflected consciousness or reflected self that is there, it starts expressing as if it is conscious. Just like the sun reflecting in a bucket of water, if that reflected sun starts saying, hey, I am the source of light, it does give light, isn't it? The reflected sun from the bucket will illuminate something. It has got all the properties of the sun. It is round, it has got heat, it has got light. But is it sun? No. It is not sun. The original is other. This is only a reflection. So that is what it is saying here. It starts manifesting as if it is consciousness. So this mind, it starts, or this I starts manifesting as if it is the conscious principle. Tat Shakti Upadhi Samyogat Brahma Eva Ishwaratvam Varjet. Therefore, when Brahman is referred with reference to the conditioning of the Maya, the Ishwaratva is manifested in the Brahman. This is how the Ishwaratva, as one of the apparent limitations of Brahman, comes about, because of the conditioning of this Sarva Niyamika Shakti called Maya. So that consciousness with respect to the Maya is called Ishvara. But there is one difference. In our case, the consciousness with respect to this individual ignorance or individual Maya, which is manifesting at the individual level, correct. So what is that because of which you consider yourself to be an individual? Because of the mind, isn't it? That individual level, or not even the mind. I can't say the mind. That power because of which the consciousness is the reflected consciousness is considering itself to be conscious. At the totality, at the individuality level, it is, as she said, the jiva, the I. We are not talking about ego here. It is not the ego. We are talking about I. And at the totality level, it is the Ishvara. This is the difference. And both are, essentially both are Brahman. But on account of Maya, they have, because of the conditioning, that consciousness, that reflected consciousness is now appearing as if conditioned. Can consciousness ever be conditioned? Not possible.
So then why is there a reflected consciousness?
Because from Brahman's point of view, there is nothing called reflected consciousness. But it is our experience, isn't it? We have to we are retracing our steps. So to make the mind calm, to make the mind understand how this whole thing must have started. Different cultures, different religions have their way of approach, isn't it? The Taoism has their own approach. The yin and yang philosophy is another approach. The Kundalini path is another approach. The Muslims have their approach. Vedanta's approach is this, in which the Sankhya and the Yoga is included. So it is for the individual who is studying. Brahman is not studying right now. It is the individual studying. See? It is this limited being who is studying. It is the seeker who is studying, isn't it? So at the totality level, when the reflection takes place, it is called Ishvara. Reflection of what? See, you can explain it in this way. You have, when the moon is shining, you can see a moon on the ocean, but you can see sparkles of moon on the various waves. Or you can see that about sun also, isn't it? Just 3 days ago, myself and Bian, we were sitting on the beach in Sandy Bay in Hobart. Beautiful sunshine, 12 degrees, 13 degrees, beautiful sunshine. Some part of the river was absolutely calm, and the part which was closer to us there were waves. That part, you could see the reflection, just half of it, but the rest of it was just glittering like diamonds. Every wave, it was beautiful. So what is this? That is what is told here. Now the second limitation of Brahman, the Jivatva, is explained as also the question as to how the one and the same Brahman can have two limitations. Understand, Brahman cannot have limitations. Limitations are imagined on Brahman. Brahman is a concept for this individual as long as he is thinking about it. But Brahman actually is the reality. It is the only thing that there is. Whether you call it Buddha, whether you call it Paramatma, whether you call it Anand, Sat Chit Anand, you call it Satyam Jnanam Ananta, it does not matter. No name can ever stick to it. In spite of all the names, it is. Because no name can ever give it, can do justice to it. Because name also has its limitation. Koshopadhi Vivakshayam Koshopadhi Vivakshayam Yati Brahmaiva Jivatam Yati Brahmaiva Jivatam Pita Pita Mahaschaikaha Mahaschaikaha Putra Pautraut Yatha Prati Pautrau Yatha Prati. With reference to the five sheaths, the Brahman alone attains the status of Jiva, as the same person attains the status of father and grandfather with reference to his son and grandson respectively. Having defined Ishwaratva with reference to Brahman and Maya, the teacher says, Brahma eva jivatam yati kosha upadhi vivikshayam. The same Brahman also attains Jivatva, and we have already seen that the Pancha Koshas are illumined by the Atma, and that the Atma is nothing but the Brahman. So we have already proved Atma itself is. So that what is that called? Brahmatmaikya Bodh. So we have seen what Atma is made up of, that alone the Brahman is also made up of. But where did we catch this Atma? In the five koshas, within the five koshas. It is because of this Atma we are able to see these five koshas. And that the Atma is nothing but the Brahman. Therefore, the Brahman, when it is in association with the limitations of the Pancha Koshas, it is called the Jiva. So what is the limitation of Ishvara? Panchakoshas. Of Ishvara we are talking about.
The world.
Does it have a limitation of Panchakosha? It has got the limitation of Maya, not the Panchakoshas. Panchakosha are for the individual. So to imagine Ishvara with a body. So God made man in his image. Man made God in his image. Both are doing their job. So we have created that infinite, all-pervading God, Ishvara, and we have put him into a form, a patak. So we can touch, feel, taste, lick, pray, light, accept, not accept, be afraid of, be in love with, be devoted to. So in this way, the same Brahman is in association with the conditioning of Maya is called Ishvara, and that same Brahman in accepting the conditioning or expressing through the conditioning of Panchakoshas is called Jiva. So this is the difference. Conditioning of Maya, Ishvara, that Brahman is called Ishvara. Conditioning of Panchakoshas, that Brahman is called Jiva. Yatah eka putra pautrau pratipita, the example is given just like the same person is called a son also, a father also, a grandfather also, a great grandfather also. But has he become many? No, he has not become many. He is one alone. Similarly, that one reality, that one Brahman itself is called as Ishvara and also called as Jiva. It is possible. It is not a linear journey. It is not a linear journey. At the same moment, you can be called as, you are expressing both as father and grandfather or grandfather and great grandfather. Similarly, the reality also, Brahman also is expressing as at the same time, simultaneously, not one by one, as Jiva and Ishvara. Who is saying this? Don't forget the context. Jiva is saying this. Ishvara doesn't say this. Brahman doesn't say this. Now, if the Brahman is seen without reference to the Panchakoshas or Maya Upadhi, then the Brahmatva will be seen to be one and the same. This is stated in the next shloka. Putrader vivakshayam पुत्राधेर विवक्षायां न पिता न पितामहः पितामहः तद्वन्नेषो नापि जीवः नेषो नापि जीवः शक्तिकोशा विवक्षणे without reference, without the reference of son, etc., the person is neither father nor grandfather. Similarly, without the conditioning of Maya and five sheaths, neither there is Ishvara nor Jiva, but Brahman alone is simple. When your attention is on the conditionings, then the Ishvaratva and Jivatva comes about. When your attention is on the conscious principle, then there is no question of Jivatva and Ishvaratva. Why? Your mind has, you have weaned away, yourself away from the conditionings. When your attention is on the conditionings, if my attention is on the wife, then I'll be the husband. If my attention is on the son, I'll be the father. If my attention is on the mother, I'll be the son. If my attention is on the house, I'll be the owner. If my attention is in the car, I'm the driver. So, depending upon the conditioning, we define our status, our reality, relative reality. See? So don't put attention on the conditionings. Don't put attention on the conditionings. Which also you are practicing, but unknowingly you are practicing every night. You don't put any conditioning on the when you go to sleep. So practice that.
This conditioning is only to the mind level.
Only at mind level. It's only at mind level. Mind itself is the conditioning. So are you putting attention on the mind that I have understood or not understood? Then your attention is on the conditionings. But while this dialogue is going on, that is my attention on the mind or not on the mind, while this dialogue is going on, are you aware that this dialogue would not have been possible without your presence? That fine shift in position, that fine, rather than taking, the moment you take, if your attention is on the mind, you will be the individual. You will be affected by what is going on in the mind. You can force yourself not to be affected through willpower, etc., etc. But if you are not giving attention to the mind or to the matter, then at that very moment you are the witness. That very moment you are the witness. And witness is Atma. And Atma is not other than the Brahman.
All these understandings and learnings is happening. If you try to understand, try to learn, then you are going into the mind level.
And that's what we say, keep saying again and again. When you are listening, make it subjective.
Don't try to understand.
Don't try to understand. Instead, put your attention, what is that power within you because of which these thoughts are appearing, these words are, you are able to hear the words. What is that power because of which you are able to see, because of which the eyes are able to see, the mind is able to think. Put attention on that. Then you are subjective right here and now. Then you don't have to try and remember what was said and what was not said. You are 100% here, not for the words. Words are only the means. Words are only the means. But are they able to transport you to fall back into yourself?
So the mind is like a pole vault.
Mind is like a pole vault. The words are like a pole vault. Mind is nothing but flow of thoughts, isn't it? But that same mind essentially is consciousness. So we don't think about the mind. We think thoughts. We don't think mind. You understand? So words are the pole vault. Each one is allowing us, is an opportunity. Every moment is an opportunity. Which verse we are? 42. When we refer to a person without reference to the son or grandson, then he is neither father nor grandfather. His non-related person is the reality. He does not suffer. But the father and the grandfather are not the reality. They are conditioned by their fatherhood and grandfatherhood and therefore suffer. So this imaginary entity called the father, actually there is only man. But he has imagined that I am a father. Why? His attention is on the conditioning called the son. So he has created a new personality that I am the father. With that fatherhood goes certain set of duties and responsibilities. And on account of that conditioning, he becomes miserable. On account of your conditioning called, suppose this is the conditioning, I am seeing very hazy everything. So my attention is on this, that this gives me clarity. So now I have become dependent on this, isn't it? So if this is taken away, I become miserable. If this is there, I become happy. If the son listens to me, I am happy. If he doesn't listen to me, I am miserable. If the body listens to me, I am happy. If the body doesn't listen, I am miserable. If the breath keeps in and out, then I am happy. If it stops, I am miserable. If the mind keeps thinking, I am happy. But if it stops thinking, I am miserable. If we have not prepared for it. And because we are unprepared, so that mind, when it becomes empty, we go to sleep. If we are prepared, we will go into meditation. And we will be as we are. When the upadhi of the panchakoshas are rejected and one is able to look at the body, mind and intellect with detachment, one is in the state of nishtha, meditation, and can understand what is the Atma. See? And it is not even an understanding. But see, whatever you do, you always make a comment, isn't it? Whatever you do. If you ate food went in, oh, that was very sumptuous. You had a good sleep, even though you were consciously you were not available there, and there was nothing to see, no, nothing. Zero. But next morning, I had a good sleep. Comment maar diya ek. If mind was not there, then who is making the comment? Think about it. Don't live in default thought patterns. So mind was zero in deep sleep. Witness was observing. That deep sleep has come and now it's gone. Then in the waking state, this comment comes, I had a wonderful sleep. Who is making this statement? Mind was unavailable, so it cannot make the statement. Witness never makes a statement. Then who is making the statement? And yet, this is our experience, isn't it? There are this thought never came to me before. It's just coming as I'm talking.
So that awareness is something other than the witness also.
Witness is only at this Panch Mahabhut level, or at this body Panch Kosha level, not Panch Mahabhut, Panch Kosha level, isn't it?
Can it be the state of Turiya? No.
Yeah, it is Turiya. It is Turiya. Witness is only possible at the level of Panch Kosha level. You cannot say Ishvara is the witness. Ishvara is all that there is. Witness is only at the level of individuality, at this body, breath, mind, intellect level. So in this way, it is only by rejecting, by proper discrimination, the upadhi of the jiva, the panchakoshas, and the upadhi of the Ishvara, the Maya, that one discovers one's own essential nature. Does Ishvara need to give up Maya? No. He is already the master of Maya. He is already the master of Maya. Then who needs to give up? The conditioning. The jiva needs to give up. Because he has created this idea for himself so that his mind gets sorted out, doesn't go in loops. In the first stage, the limitations of the Panchakoshas are rejected and the seeker gets firmly established in the conviction that he is someone other than the five koshas. Then comes the knowledge that what is left after the rejection of the five koshas is my own essential nature, the Atma, which is itself Brahma Swarupa. So the witness, by staying a witness for a long period of time, as the impact of the mind reduces over a period of time, slowly, this recognition within the witness that he is the only thing that there is will dawn. It will not happen by your thinking. Atma cannot recognize itself as Paramatma. It will only happen as a result of purification of the mind. When the impact of the mind reduces to a considerable extent as a result of witnessing, then that witness will recognize itself to be the infinite, as the Brahman, without words. It's an experienceless experience. Once this knowledge takes place, there is no more need to struggle about the limitation of Maya. Or alternatively, the Maya can be destroyed by surrendering one's individuality to the power of the Lord. Where individuality is not, totality loses its meaning. When the Jivatva is denied, the process of denying the Ishwaratva also takes place. So to the extent I am giving up individuality, to that extent Ishwaratva, the totality, is also losing its impact on the mind. Because it's individuality and totality, both are concepts of the mind only, isn't it?
Would that be a conscious denial or?
It's not denial. Don't go into that type of language. Denial. It's a conscious acceptance. It is a conscious acceptance that I am all that there is. I am the undisturbed. The fruit of this study and practice is Ya evam brahma vedaisha Brahma vedaisha Brahmaiva bhavati swayam Brahmano nasti janmataha पुनरेष न jayate. Shana jayate. He who thus recognizes the Brahman as indicated in this chapter by the discrimination of 5 sheets comes to be Brahman. The Brahman is not born, therefore he is never again born. So, knowing Brahman itself being Brahman, isn't it? So, coming to recognize step by step or whichever way, you want it slowly or you want it immediately, come to be the witness. Everything will fall in place. Again, witnessing cannot be created by you, by thinking, I am the witness, but kuch nahi hoga. You have to create a certain conditioning of the mind. What is that conditioning? That mind must not react to situation, to time, space and objectivity. It must not react. It must be detached. And the more you remain in that, slowly, over a period of time, witnessing will take place. And in this way, he who knows the Brahman in this way by following the method of Panchakosha Vivek, as explained in this chapter, comes to realize that this Brahman I am. So, this Atma I am, and this Atma itself is of the nature of Brahman. We'll look at the whole chapter as an overview in our next class. So, in this way, come to realize the self. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purna Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.